What's up, everybody? Meowth here. Forged in the Barrens card reveal season is in full swing, so it's about damn time I brought you guys the second part of my Forged in the Barrens wild card review. So the majority of this video is stuff that I recorded on stream, so I apologize in advance for the probably the lower quality than you guys might be expecting, but I wanted to get to you guys this as fast as possible. So I hope you guys enjoy, and as you guys go through, if you guys have any of the cards that you guys agree or disagree with me about, make sure you guys let me know down in the comments below about why you think I am wrong about the cards. Let me know what you guys are most excited for. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so let's talk about some of the Demon Hunter cards being revealed. The first one is the legendary Kurtrus Ashfall. In 4 mana 3/4 legendary with the battle cry, attack the left and rightmost enemy minions. Assuming it's the minion itself, not your hero. Outcast, this minion is immune this turn. So this is even costed, so it has to be really flippin' good to be, playable in Wild. And I don't think this effect is strong enough. So I just don't think this is very good, and probably not going to see play in our format. Next up is Sigil of Flame, 2 mana, Fell Spell. Say that 5 times fast. At the start of your next turn, deal 3 damage to all minions. So this is like a Doomsayer effect that kind of honestly feels a little bit worse than Doomsayer, unless you can do some spicy things with it. And to be completely honest with you, slower Demon Hunter builds in Wild just don't have any win con right now. And so, I mean, maybe you run this in like an Reno Demon Hunter if you're just trying to have a little bit of fun. But competitively, I don't think this has any place in our format. All right, Razorfen Beastmaster. So honestly, when I first saw this card, I kind of assumed it was a Hunter card. But it's a Demon Hunter card for some reason. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with Death Rattle. Summon a Death Rattle minion that costs 4 or less from your hand. Like, what Death Rattle synergy does Demon Hunter have, right? Like, I don't want this in Odd Demon Hunter. I guess maybe if you're going the Leper Gnome Undertaker plus Albatross build of Odd Demon Hunter, like, maybe you want this, because it's like a 3 mana 3/3 that summons a Leper Gnome or an Albatross. Maybe. But then you're also playing a 3 mana 3/3 and your super low curve Demon Hunter. Probably not worth it. Urzul Horror. Like, I don't even know. Like, if this summons a Leper Gnome or an Urzul Horror from your hand, are you happy? I'm not happy with that. I'm only happy if it's pulling an Albatross. So, no, I really wish this was a Hunter card. The fact that it's a Demon Hunter card makes me a lot less excited to play it. And so I'm going to give it the stamp of being bad and unplayable. Alright, so moving into Hunter, we've already seen Sunscale Raptor, so I'm not going to review this one. We're going to talk about the 3 new cards. Let's go with Legendary last. Let's talk about Tame Beast. This is a 2 mana, I forgot the name of the spell that they gave this, but it upgrades at 5 and 10, and so it upgrades into a 4/4 Beast with Rush and a 6/6 Beast with Rush. I mean, 2/2s, 4/4s, and 6/6s with Rush. Like, if you're playing Hunter, you don't really want to be getting to 10 mana, unless you're playing Reno Hunter. And, like, I don't even know if a 6/6 with Rush is worth it in Reno Hunter. And a 2/2 and a 4/4 with Rush, probably not worth it. I think this is just way too slow. Way too slow for our format, so I don't think it's going to see a ton of play. Coldcar Pack Runner, 2 mana 2/3. After you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 Hyena with Rush. So I'd be really excited for this card with, like, Starving Buzzard if it was a beast itself. It's not a beast, though, so the place that it probably sees the most play is in something like Secret Hunter, right? Because you can do this with stuff like Cloaked Huntress. The thing is that really easy to remove, right? So the decks that you really care about having the 1/1 Hyena with Rush are decks like Pirate Warrior and Kingsbane Rogue and Odd Rogue. And, like, those decks, generally, you're just going to kill this before you get value off of it. So, yeah, probably not going to see a ton of play in Secret Hunter. But if you're playing, like, Lock and Load or Yogg and Load, whatever you want to call it, then this is probably really good. It's a really good defensive tool. And Lock and Load's actually in Standard now, right, in the core set. So expect to see a lot more cards that synergize with this. So, like, maybe Yogg and Load or a spell-based Hunter actually becomes way more viable moving forward. But right now, I don't really see a competitively viable place for this card. Alright, and now let's talk about the Hunter Legendary. So this is a 5 mana 3/5, so not great stats, so must have a really, really good battle cry. And the battle cries draw a 1, 2, and 3 cost spell. So Anytime you can get card draw in the Hunter, you have to actually look at the card because it's so rare in that deck, or in that class rather. And I think this card actually fits into a lot of decks. So the two decks that I'm the most excited to try this out in is in like a Death Rattle base Hunter build, whether that's in Tonk Hunter or like the more aggressive Egg base list, because it draws you Play Dead as your 1 cost, Feign Death is your 2, and 9 lives is your 3 cost. So yeah, I mean, it draws you all of your Death Rattle support synergy cards, so it's really, really good. But I also really like it in something like Secret Hunter. So Secret Hunter, it's going to pull you either whatever the 1 cost spell that discovers a secret, or it discovers your tracking, and then it draws you a secret, and then it draws you your big payoff card with Petting Zoo. So, I mean, I think Coda Bane's a very, very good card. I know there's a little bit of talk in something like Odd Hunter, or like in a Face Hunter deck, because it draws you like Toxic Reinforcements, Quick Shot, and Kill Command. I don't know if you can really afford to play a 5-mana 3/5 in a super aggressive Hunter build, but it does draw you a lot of burn. And obviously stuff like Mally Hunter probably wants this, right? Because it draws you burn as well. But I think the two places that I'm the most excited to try this out in is in like the aggressive Egg Hunter build, as well as Secret Hunter. So I think Coda Bane's a very, very good card, because it has a lot of synergy already kind of built into the format. So I'm excited to see what we can do with Coda Bane. Alright, so moving into Mage, we have Reckless Apprentice, 4-mana 3/5, Battlecry, fire your hero power at all enemies. I think my big question that I have with these kind of Mage support cards for hero power decks is, so stuff like Spirit of the Dragonhawk, the guy totem thing from Rosticon's Rumble. When you pinged a minion, that extra damage didn't work for stuff like Inspire effects or Jan'alai or Frost Giant. And so if Reckless Apprentice's effect doesn't do that either, then I don't think this card's very good. But if it does, then I can see it being good, right? 4-mana 3/5, you play it on turn 5, so it becomes a 5-mana 3/5, deal 1 damage to all enemies, or freeze all enemies, or if you're running like some of the synergy cards, right, that buff your hero power's damage, I think it'll get a lot better. But until it discounts stuff like Frost Giant or counts towards Jan'alai multiple instances, I'm gonna have a really hard time seeing the hero power stuff really take flight as like more than just a meme. But for what it is, like this plus the legendary that I'm about to talk about makes even Mage seem really, really, really good. My biggest regret is that these aren't odd cost, because I think odd Mage is a lot more viable, or closer to being viable than even. But who knows? Maybe these are super powerful. Because let's talk about Fire Eye. So this is Mordresh Fire Eye, 10 mana 10/10. If you have dealt 10 damage with your hero power this game, deal 10 to all enemies. That's just like game-ending synergy right there. Very, very good card if you can meet the requirements, right? I think this is like your finisher for your even hero power Mage. It feels really weird saying those and hearing those words come out of my mouth. But yeah, like I mentioned, I think these cards are good. You have Fallen Hero, you have Koldara Drake back in Standard, and they have mentioned that they've learned a lot of lessons for like the hero power stuff from Rosticon's Rebel. So I'm excited to see like what other additional support Mage gets. But again, I think until stuff like Spirit of the Dragonhawk and Reckless Apprentice counts multiple times for like Frost Giants and stuff, I'm like a little bit hesitant to say even Mage is going to be like insanely good. But it's a significant buff to a solid like meme archetype. All right, let's talk about Paladin. I think Paladin got some super, super, super cool stuff. So Cannon Master Smithy, who knows? 5 mana 4/4. Transform your secrets into 3/3 soldiers. They transform back when they die. So what this does is this allows you to get tempo out of early secrets in Secret Paladin. It makes your secrets actually useful. So it's a couple things. I think it's good. Some like hidden synergy is normal. If you have secrets up, it makes your Mysterious Challenger a lot less powerful. But if you get to play this on 5, get rid of all your secrets, and the Mysterious Challenger pulls 5 from your deck, that makes your Mysterious Challenger kind of even more insane. But yeah, 5 mana 4/4. If you have, let's say, 2 secrets up, right? It becomes a 5 mana 10/10. It's kind of impressive. It's kind of good. One secret 5 mana 7/7 not, right? So you need to be running enough secrets that you want 2 active on turn 5. I mean, we've got Omayog, Never Surrender. We've got the new one from the core set that looks really, really good. Like, it deals 3 damage, then you get to destroy it. So you've got some good secrets now, right? You still have Avenge and Get Down. But then you're running, like, Paladin secrets. And then if you don't draw Candlemaster Smithy, then, like, they're really garbage. So, like, I don't know. I really like the design on this. It's a really unique design. But Secret Paladin hasn't seen play in WoW for a long, long time. So it's really hard to evaluate this and see, like, is this the direction you want to take Secret Paladin? Or probably more likely just, like, shoving Call to Arms in the Secret Paladin deck. Is that the route you want to go? And I think that's probably the answer. Because Secret Paladin, Call to Arms is just good in every deck, including Secret Paladin. But yeah, I mean, I like the design. And now that I'm talking about design, maybe that means that we should just go ahead and move on. And maybe it's not that good. So Cariel Rome, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering this name, but this is another Paladin Legendary, 4 mana 4/3, Rush Divine Shield. So already kind of insane stats and keywords. Whenever this attacks, reduce the cost of holy spells in your hand by 1. Did you guys know that Libram spells are holy spells? This card just is perfect in Libram Paladin. It's actually just kind of nuts. Like, actually just bonkers. And I'm not sure what other holy spells, like Hand of a Doll is probably a holy spell that benefits off of this as well. And so, like, if you're running even Paladin, maybe you want this in the deck. If you're running, like, aggro Paladin, maybe, honestly, this belongs in that deck because cheaper buffs is good. Like, is Blessing of Kings a holy spell? I don't know. But yeah, I think Cariel Rome, she 100% goes in Libram Paladin, and probably is going to go into a lot of other Paladin decks as well that kind of can fit her, right? Obviously, Odd Paladin can't, but yeah, Cariel Rome, very, very good card. Veteran War Medic. Speaking of another card that we might want to test out in Libram Paladin, this is 4 mana 3/5. After you cast a holy spell, summon a 2/2 medic with lifesteal. So this is kind of like a more situational Violet Teacher, but you summon 2/2s with lifesteal instead of naked 1/1s. And that synergizes insanely well with your Libram Wisdoms and Broomsticks and stuff like that. Probably not good enough for wild Libram Paladin. It's probably a little bit too slow and a little bit too situational. But if you can stick War Medic on 4, right? Like, an aggro deck ignores this, and then you just play a couple of Libram Wisdoms and a Hand of a Doll with Broomstick. Oh god, it's gonna be disgusting. But yeah, Veteran War Medic. Excited to mess around with it because maybe you can replace that 7 mana, the 7 mana book that's really hard to corrupt. With this as kind of like your anti-aggro tool. So last but not least, we have Invigorating Sermon. This is a 4 mana holy spell. Give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. So Mistcaller gets power crept to all hell. So basically like baby survival of the fittest that can be discounted. That seems pretty good. I think the biggest issue right now is kind of figuring out where can you fit this. That's kind of the big thing, right? There's obviously synergy with like Cariel Rome. But how do you fit this in, like, Aggro Paladin? Can you fit this in Aggro Paladin, especially now that you have, like, Call to Arms back? Can you fit this in Libram Paladin? I don't think Libram Paladin has room. Like, even Paladin's probably, like, my go-to is, like, where you'll want to run this, like, the even Dude Paladin. And I think that's maybe the only deck right now out of the meta decks that run enough minions that can afford to play Invigorating Sermon that kind of wants the effect. Is the big thing. It's a very, very powerful effect, but there's not a lot of decks that can really take advantage of it right now, right? Our format's extremely fast. Like, Hand Buff Paladin already has both the 2 mana hand buff and the 1 mana hand buff cards. And can you take 4 mana off to play a hand buff? Like, you can recover tempo barely with the 1 and 2, right? Because you have all the rush minions, but like I don't know if you can recover from a 4. Maybe with the new Samuro card you can afford to. So I guess I would be looking at this card in Hand Buff Paladin and like Even Paladin as like my main go-tos, but it's a very, very powerful effect. I think the biggest thing is like, can we abuse it enough in Wild? Moving on to Priest. We've already talked about Desperate Prayer, so we're going to talk about the other two. Condemn. So Condemn is one of those upgradable spells. It does 1 damage, when you have 0 to 5 or 0 to 4. At 5 mana, it upgrades to dealing 2 damage, and at 10 mana, it upgrades to dealing 3. So when I look at AoE spells, I look at them like on curve because that's when you want the AoE spells the most. So this is 2 mana, deal 1. So it's worse than Spirit Lash and it's worse than Breath. Which means I probably don't want to run this, right? Like, if you're looking at Big Priest, I'm not hurting that badly for another AoE spell. I'm not hurting that badly for another AoE spell in Reno Priest. So probably not going to see play, even though it does like scale a little bit later or better into the late game. It's probably not good enough. And then Light Shower Elemental, 6 mana, 6/6 Elemental with Taunt. Death Rattle, restore 8 health to all friendly characters. So I was thinking about this potentially in Big Priest. I know a lot of people hate Big Priest. But yeah, I mean, it's a 6 mana, 6/6 with Taunt. I think the Taunt is the thing that makes you actually consider running it. Okay, because Taunt is good in Big Priest. That's all you really want. And it heals 8. So I think there's some lists that run Ziliax in Big Priest. It's like anti-aggro tech. And maybe this replaces the Ziliax. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not better than Blood of Gahoon, and it's not better than Scrapyard Colossus. But it's an anti-aggressive minion that you can actually play early in the game, because I think the biggest issue with Big Priest has become, like, you don't draw the Shadow Essence, and then you sit there do nothing, right? You actually can't do anything if you don't draw the Essence, because all your minions cost 9 and 10 mana. So, like, and Ziliax I think is actually good in Big Priest if you're in a super aggressive metagame. If you're not in a super aggressive metagame, then you don't want Ziliax and you probably don't want this card. But if you are, I think you can at least consider Light Shower Elemental as like that 30th card. Alright, let's talk about Rogue. So the first one is a new Rogue spell called Yoink. What a name. What an absolutely beautiful name. A 1 mana spell, discover a hero power and set its cost to 0. Swap back after 2 uses. So I'm assuming this doesn't work like we want it to with Grizzle Wizard, right? Like if I swap hero powers with the priest opponent and I play this card, they just use the hero power and then they get their old Raza hero power back. So because that doesn't work like I wanted it to, I don't really see any place where we use this, because like the new hero powers don't synergize with like burgle effects or anything like that. So I think this card is just bad. If you guys see synergies with this card, please let me know, because I'm really struggling to find out a way that this is actually good. Alright, and next up we have Oil Rig Ambusher. This is a 4 mana 4/4. Battlecry, deal 2. If this entered your hand this turn, deal 4. So this is synergy with stuff like Shadow Step and Secret Passage and cards like that. The thing is like a pure tempo based rogue just doesn't really exist in our format. I think the closest thing is like maybe Shuffle Rogue or maybe Corbett's like Baitweed, like Whirl Kick Rogue. And so maybe it's fine in those decks. It is a little bit expensive, and by a little bit I mean very expensive, but like I don't think it's good, just not because the card itself isn't good, but like the support for the card in Wild isn't there, and it's not strong enough on its own to kind of push a new archetype or support a new archetype. So I don't think this card's going to see any play. All right, moving into Shaman. Shaman only has one new card to talk about. Nothing can stop us. You gotta love it with the Shaman Murloc spells and being amazingly named. But it's a 3 mana spell. Give your minions +1/+1. So this is a very expensive Mark of the Lotus, unless you have a bunch of Murlocs, because then your Murlocs get an extra +1/+1. So 3 mana. Give your Murlocs +2/+2. It's a powerful effect, right? Very, very powerful effect. The thing is I would have loved for this card to say, give your minions +1/+1, cost 1 less for each Murloc you control, right? Or something like that. Very similar to Everyfin is Awesome. But like 3 mana is a lot of mana in a super aggressive deck in our format. 3 mana is a lot to commit. Murloc Shaman needs a lot of help. This is a fine card in that deck. Like you probably run it for like the high rolls, right? Like if they don't answer your 1-drop-on-1 into Underbelly, Angler, Tiny Fin, and then you just play this and like make your board unkillable. Like you probably run it for those high rolls, but it's gonna be really, really hard to consistently get the +2/+2 if they kill off your board in the early game. So like I'm not super high on this card. I do think you need to run it for those high rolls, but it's not gonna save Murloc Shaman or bring it back in any kind of way in the format. All right, Warlock got some interesting cards to talk about. So the first one we're going to talk about is Grimoire of Sacrifice over here on the right. Destroy friendly minion to deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. So this is really awesome in stuff like Galakron Warlock. I know a lot of people are kind of memeing about Galakron Warlock, but I actually think it has some potential with Undertaker and Fiendish Rites. And you get to run like Nerubian Eggs, and you get stuff like Grimoire of Sacrifice as like ways to control the board alongside Plague of Flames. But yeah, outside of Galakron Warlock, I mean, do you maybe want this in Keyblock? Like, you already have Sky's Defile, Plague, and Hysteria. I don't know if you need more AoE, but it is a way to destroy a minion while doing AoE damage. So maybe you experiment with it in Keyblock, but I don't really see how you have space for it. But yeah, I think the main place you're going to be talking about this is in Galakron Warlock, which I think people need to stop sleeping on. Next up, we have Soul Rend. I think this is just meh AoE. Like 4 mana dealing 5 to all minions is super relevant, right? It does do a ton against aggro decks. Problem is, you're just drawing a card for each deck that's killed, and like that downside makes it absolutely unplayable against other control decks. And so yes, while the fatigue might not matter against aggro decks, and if you're clearing the board, then you're like winning the game. The fact that it's completely dead against control decks, and the fact that you have so much AoE, right, already, right, with Defile, Plague of Flames, Hysteria, Dark Skies, like I don't think you need Soul Rend on top of that, and so I don't think this card should see any play. I might be wrong there, because dealing 5 is super relevant, right? But the fact that you have many better options than the fact that it's going to be a dead card in like half of your matchups makes it probably unplayable. All right, and last but not least, we have the first Warlock legendary to talk about, Tamsin Roaim. I'm sure I'm butchering this name again. For those of you WoW nerds, please let me know. But a 3-mana 1/3. Whenever you cast a shadow spell that costs 1 or more, add a copy of it to your hand. So what? This card just is asking to be broken, right? So we know Soulfire is not a shadow spell, but if stuff like Power Overwhelming or Dark Bomb is, the fact that you just get kind of 2 copies with Tamsin is kind of insane. I think the big thing, the big kind of shadow card that a lot of people are talking about are Power Overwhelming and then Drain Soul, which is like the new Warlock Penance card. So unfortunately, this looks like it's another card to be abused in Darkglare Warlock more than anything else. But outside of Darkglare Warlock, if it's copying stuff like Power Overwhelmings and Drain Souls, like maybe you look at it in stuff like Galakron Warlock or Malilock. But yeah, I think the big place, the big obvious situation where you're going to be winning this card is in Darkglare. Yeah, Darkglare. Potentially Solarium being a shadow card too. Yeah, we don't really know what is confirmed to be shadow cards other than the ones that are in the core set. And we know that Soulfire isn't. But yeah, this card seems busted. Darkglare getting more and more tools to play with that all happen to cost 0 mana. Yeah, not excited. I am excited because it's a strong Warlock legendary. I'm not excited for it to be abused in Darkglare. Yeah. Alright, moving into Warrior. Warrior's only had 1 card revealed so far, unfortunately. 5 mana 4/4 with Taunt. Battlecry, if your hero attack this turn, summon a copy of it. So I think there's some like obvious synergy with like Sword Eater on 4 into this on 5 mana 8/8 taunts. But unironically, I've been, for a couple of expansions now, I've been playing this like tempo taunt warrior list that involves like Into the Phrase, bolsters, and a bunch of cheap taunts with, what's the name, like Target Dummies, Wax Elementals, the Public Defenders, which plays kind of similarly to Hand Buff Paladin, except with taunts primarily instead of rush minions. And this fits perfectly into that deck. It also fits really, really well with, taunt warriors if you're trying to play like the odd slow control taunt warriors for some reason. But yeah, I think this card's really nuts. I think stuff like Into the Fray, the new 3-mana card that buffs a taunt minion +5/+5. We're getting Serenite Chaingang back. That tempo taunt warrior is actually looking a hell of a lot better. I mean, it's a pretty bad deck now, but with Serenite Chaingang coming back and with this card being printed, I think it's getting a huge buff. So I'm excited to mess around with some of that tempo taunt warrior in our format. All right, and so moving into neutrals, we've had 3 new neutrals to talk about. Let's talk about Kazakus Golem Shaper. So 4 mana 3/3. Battlecry, if your deck has no 4-cost cards, build a custom golem. So we don't know what all of the effects are. We have some good ideas based upon some WoW lore and some of the old Kazakus potions, right? So like it's going to be a 5-mana 5/5, Battlecry, deal 5, draw 2 cards, or stuff like that. It's very similar to the OG Kazakus for the singleton decks. But Kazakus and Wild, I don't know where we play this. Like, I genuinely do not know where we play this. There's not a lot of decks that can afford to play a 4-mana 4/4 that, you know, outside of like Reno decks, but then you have normal Kazakus. Reno Warrior has Kargath. Reno Shaman has like Torrent. And like Chain Gangs if you're playing the Shuttle Walk builds. Like Reno Hunter has Rifles and Dragon's Bane. So like where do you run Kazakus? Like Paladin was like probably the closest thing, but then they got 4-mana Call to Arms. So you're never running this in Paladin decks. So I'm not really sure where this sees play. I know the effects are going to be powerful, right? Kazakus, like, it's one of the big staple cards of the format. I don't know what he has to do with the Barrens, but I'm not 100% certain where Kazakus comes into play. And so, I mean, I hesitate to say it, but like at this current time of the review, I don't think this is going to see a ton of play. Just because there's not really a deck that it can fit in currently. So I'm sorry, Kazakus. I loved your old version. You were part of the reason that I fell in love with Renolock, but Kazakus doesn't. You don't really want that, yeah. I don't think you're gonna see a ton of play. Odd Rogue doesn't have 4-drops. True. Libram Paladin has no 4-drops. It has the new 4-drop. It 100% runs the new 4-drop. So it can't run Kazakus. Return of Jades. Well, doesn't Jade Shaman have 2/3? Or are you just talking about like Jades in general? Alright, next up we've got Primordial Protector. 8-mana 6/6 elemental. Battlecry, draw your highest cost spell and summon a random minion with the same cost. So this is 8-mana slightly better Spiteful Summoner. I mean, except it's 8-mana instead of 6. I mean, this probably fits in your Spiteful decks, right? I think the closest deck that we have for Spiteful to being competitive is Hunter and Druid. And I think this fits great into those decks, right? In Druid, it draws you Guardian Animals, and it draws you your Survival or the Ultimate Infestation, whatever 10-drop you're running. And in Hunter, right, which is the other Spiteful deck, it draws you your Call of the Wild, and it draws you your Grand Slams. So I think this is just like an auto-include in your whatever Spiteful decks that you're running. Is it enough to push Spiteful decks to being super competitive? It costs 8 mana, so probably not. But it's a good inclusion. It's a nice buff to those of you that enjoy playing Spiteful decks. You're going to enjoy Primordial Protector. And the last neutral card that's new to talk about is Horde Operative. And I think this is probably the one that I've been seeing the most overrated by a lot of people in the community. Horde Operative, 3-mana 3/4 Battlecry, copy your opponent's secrets and put them into play. I'm not really high on this card at all. Copying opponent's secrets instead of getting rid of the opponent's secrets. And like you're copying them so like the opponent knows exactly what you're like they have to play around. And like if you're copying the opponent's like rigged fair game, you're never really gonna get the rigged fair game value yourself. So like I don't think this is like the counter to Secret Mage that a lot of people want it to be, unfortunately. And it's on like a meh body to begin with. So like I think the only place this is actually probably going to see play is like when Secret Mages are trying to tech against other Secret Mages because the deck becomes so popular. We're like, you're out of secret synergy. I'm gonna play a Horde Operative and copy all of your secrets so that I can stay in this game, right? But yeah, I think this card's bad and it's probably not gonna see a lot of play at all. Alright guys, and that's going to wrap it up for our second part of our Wild Forged in the Barrens card review. And if you guys disagreed with any of my evaluations, let me know down in the comments below. Some of these do look insanely powerful, and this was a really quick run through, so I might have missed some pretty obvious synergies. So let me know if I missed anything, if there's things that you think are going to be kind of insanely broken that I might have missed. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It does support my content a lot. And I will see you guys next time for the third part of our Wild Forged in the Barrens card review. Have a good one.